A life defined by chaos, violence, and a relentless pursuit of escape. Mikal Mahdi's journey from troubled youth to death row inmate is a chilling testament to the consequences of unchecked rage. His crimes left families shattered, communities reeling, and a trail of violence across multiple states. Now, as the date of his execution draws near, the question remains, can justice truly be served for the lives lost in his wake? Motti, 41, was given the option of execution by firing squad, lethal injection, or the electric chair. He will be the first person put to death in the state since Brad Sigmund, who opted for the firing squad on March 7. Sigmund was pronounced dead less than 3 minutes after 3 bullets struck his heart. Mikal Mahdi was forced to choose between 3 brutal and inhumane methods of execution. His attorney, David Weiss, said in a statement, he selected the firing squad, deeming it the least horrific alternative to being burned in the electric chair or enduring a prolonged death by lethal injection. Mikal Deen Mahdi was born on March 20, 1983, in Virginia, where he spent his early years in the town of Lawrenceville. His upbringing was far from stable. Before he was even born, his father, Sharif, came from a troubled background, dealing with a dysfunctional family and a history of alcoholism. Sharif had an honorable discharge from the Marines and, at 27 years old, entered into an arranged marriage with a 16-year-old girl from Richmond. The couple had 2 sons, including Mikal, but by 1986, Mikal's mother left the family. Left to raise 2 boys on his own, Sharif struggled to hold down jobs and was frequently in trouble with the law. When Mikal was 8 years old, his father sent him to live with relatives. While his older brother was sent to Texas, Mikal went to Maryland to live with his uncle and aunt. There, he attended Scotts Branch Elementary School in Baltimore, but despite being an active student, he had ongoing issues with authority and struggled academically. By 3rd grade, he dropped out altogether. At the age of 9, Mikal was involuntarily committed to a psychiatric facility after threatening suicide. After his release, he returned to Virginia to live with his father and brother. His criminal record began to form in 1997, when, at age 14, he was convicted of breaking and entering and grand larceny. Mikal would go on to serve time in a juvenile detention center before moving in with his mother in Richmond. By 2001, Mikal was back in trouble with the law. He was convicted of attacking a police officer in Virginia, earning him a 93-month prison sentence and 15 years of probation. He was released in May 2004, but within 2 months of regaining his freedom, his crimes would escalate into a multi-state spree of violence. On July 14, 2004, Mikal stole a .38 caliber pistol, a station wagon, and a set of Virginia license plates. He left Virginia and drove to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. The next day, he entered a convenience store, picked up a can of beer, and approached the counter. When 26-year-old clerk Christopher Boggs asked to see his ID, Mikal pulled out the stolen gun and shot Boggs point-blank in the face. As Boggs collapsed, Mikal fired another round into his body before attempting to rob the cash register. Failing to get it open, he left with the beer and fled to South Carolina. Christopher Boggs was known for his kindness and dedication to his work. Despite his young age, he took pride in his job and was known to go out of his way to help customers. He was engaged to be married and had plans to pursue a career in automotive repair. His murder left a lasting void in the lives of his loved ones, who described him as a gentle soul with an infectious smile. 2 days later, on July 17, 2004, Mikal carjacked a man named Corey Pitts in Columbia, South Carolina, and stole his car. He drove to a gas station and attempted to pay with a credit card, but the pump rejected it. Mikal spent nearly an hour trying to get the pump to work before fleeing on foot after raising the suspicion of the gas station employees, who had called the police. Later that day, Mikal found a local farm in Calhoun County to hide out. The farm belonged to 56-year-old Captain James Myers, a well-respected officer of the Orangeburg Department of Public Safety. Myers had spent the day celebrating his daughter, wife, and sister's birthdays at a beach. When he returned home, Mikal confronted him with a .22 caliber rifle he had found in the farm's workshop. Without hesitation, Mikal shot Myers 9 times, including 3 shots to the head. After the killing, Mikal doused the officer's body in diesel fuel and set it on fire. He stole multiple firearms and fled the scene in Myers's police-issued truck. Captain James Edward Myers was a beloved figure in his community. With over 2 decades of service in law enforcement, he was known for his integrity, compassion, and dedication to protecting others. He was a devoted husband and father who prioritized his family despite the demands of his career. His death sent shockwaves through the local law enforcement community and left an irreplaceable void in the lives of those who knew and loved him. When Myers's wife, Amy, who was also a law enforcement officer, realized her husband was missing, she drove to the farm and found his burned body. The investigation quickly pointed to Mikal, who was already linked to the murder of Christopher Boggs in North Carolina. A multi-state manhunt ensued. On July 21, 2004, law enforcement in Florida spotted Mikal driving the stolen truck. After a brief chase, Mikal abandoned the vehicle and tried to escape on foot while carrying one of the stolen rifles. Eventually, he dropped the weapon and surrendered to authorities. Mikal was extradited to South Carolina to face charges for the murder of James Myers. In August 2004, a grand jury indicted him on charges of murder, burglary, and grand larceny. Prosecutors, with the backing of Myers's family, pushed for the death penalty. During the trial in November 2006, Mikal pleaded guilty to all charges. Despite his plea, the prosecution argued for capital punishment, citing his violent criminal history and the particularly brutal nature of Myers's murder. On December 8, 2006, Judge Clifton Newman sentenced Mikal to death for the murder of Captain James Myers. During the sentencing, Judge Newman remarked that Mikal showed no remorse and referred to his actions as wicked and depraved. Alongside the death sentence, Mikal also received a combined 25 years for burglary and grand larceny. While incarcerated on death row at the Lieber Correctional Institution, Mikal's violent behavior continued. On the morning of December 2, 2009, the third year of his incarceration, Mikal Mahdi and fellow condemned serial killer Quincy Allen plotted to kill a correctional officer. They had fashioned makeshift knives from metal strips they removed from air ducts in the facility. Motti and Allen approached Officer Nathan Sasser, asking to be escorted to the basketball court. Once there, they attacked Sasser, stabbing him multiple times before attempting to escape by scaling a fence. The attempted escape failed when prison staff intervened, deploying tear gas and rubber bullets to subdue the pair. Officer Sasser survived the stabbing after being treated at the Medical University of South Carolina. However, the traumatic event led to him developing PTSD and anxiety attacks, ultimately resulting in his dismissal from his job. In response to the attack, Motti and Allen were stripped of their privileges, including visitation, recreation, phone use, and canteen items. Both men were charged with assault, but since they were already on death row, the prosecution decided not to pursue the charges against them. Mikal pursued multiple appeals following his death sentence. In 2009, he filed a direct appeal to the South Carolina Supreme Court, arguing that his guilty plea was coerced and that his legal counsel was ineffective. The court rejected his claims, affirming his conviction and death sentence in 2011. Further appeals included petitions for post-conviction relief, where Mikal's attorneys argued that his traumatic childhood and mental health issues were not adequately presented during the sentencing phase. These efforts were also denied. By 2022, the U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear his case, effectively exhausting his federal appeals and leaving his execution date to be scheduled. In January 2025, the South Carolina Supreme Court issued Mikal's death warrant, scheduling his execution for April 11, 2025. The warrant was signed after the state confirmed the availability of lethal injection drugs, ending a years-long delay due to supply shortages. Despite last-minute legal challenges from his defense team citing ongoing mental health concerns and ineffective counsel, the courts denied a stay of execution, solidifying the date. Mikal will remain on death row at Broad River Correctional Institution in South Carolina, awaiting his execution. His path from a troubled childhood to a life marked by violence has left a trail of victims and grieving families in its wake. With his appeals exhausted and no further avenues for reprieve, Mikal's execution is imminent, bringing to an end a violent chapter in the justice system. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more gripping true crime tales. Feel free to leave a comment below. What do you think about the justice system in cases like these? As always, stay curious and stay safe.